A young girl's death that shocked the whole Sweden. In the peaceful town of Lundberg, Sweden, where about 3,000 people lived in colorful wooden houses surrounded by green fields and forests, life moved at its own gentle pace. The streets were safe, neighbors knew each other, and children played freely until sunset. But in the summer of 2015, this quiet town would become the center of a story that shocked all of Sweden. This is the story of Lisa Holm, a kind-hearted 17-year-old girl with bright blue eyes and long blonde hair who worked at the local Sunshine Cafe. Lisa had big dreams of becoming an architect and studying in Australia. She was known for her love of animals, her artistic talent, and her warm smile that brightened everyone's day. If you enjoy real stories from Reddit that show how quickly life can change, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps bring more stories like Lisa's to light. As we share what happened in this small Swedish town, remember, sometimes the most unexpected events happen in the most ordinary places. Your likes and comments mean a lot. They help more people discover these important stories. Now let's begin Lisa's story. The small town of Lundberg in Sweden was like a picture from an old storybook. Located in the beautiful region of Västergötland, it was home to about 3,000 people who lived in colorful wooden houses surrounded by green fields and forests. Life moved at its own gentle pace here, with people taking time to chat with neighbors and help each other out. The town had just one main street lined with small shops, a cafe, and a bakery that made the best cinnamon rolls in the region. In this peaceful place, everyone knew everyone else. Children would ride their bikes freely through the streets until sunset, while their parents sat on front porches sharing coffee and homemade cookies. The town was so safe that in the past 5 years, the local police station had only dealt with minor issues like lost bikes and occasional speeding tickets. The biggest excitement usually came from the weekly farmers market or the annual Midsummer Festival that brought the whole community together. The summer of 2015 changed everything for Lundberg and its people. What happened during those warm June days would not only shake this quiet town, but would make headlines across all of Sweden and beyond. No one could have imagined that their safe little corner of the world would become the center of a story that would keep the whole country holding its breath. The peace that the townspeople had taken for granted suddenly felt very fragile. Lisa Holm came into the world on a snowy February morning in 1998. She was born into a loving family with her parents, Marie and Eric, and her older sister, Emma. Their home was filled with warmth and laughter, and the smell of freshly baked bread that Marie made every Sunday. Lisa's childhood photo showed a smiling girl with bright blue eyes and long blonde hair, usually wearing her favorite yellow dress. The family lived in a red wooden house with white trim, typical of Swedish homes, with a beautiful garden where Lisa loved to help her mother plant flowers. Even as a young child, Lisa stood out for her kindness. When she was just 5 years old, she saved up her weekly allowance of 10 kroner for 2 months to buy food for the stray cats in her neighborhood. By age 7, she had started a small club at school called Friends of Animals that grew to include 15 other children. They would meet every Tuesday after school to learn about different animals and think of ways to help them. Her teachers often said that Lisa had an old soul in a young body. At school, Lisa was known as the quiet girl who always got good grades. While she wasn't the most outgoing student in her class of 24 children, she had a special way of making friends. She usually sat at the same lunch table with her 3 best friends, Emma, Sophia, and Maria. They would share their packed lunches and make plans for weekend sleepovers. Lisa particularly loved science class and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian someday. Her science teacher, Mr. Anderson, kept one of her projects about local wildlife as an example for other students, impressed by the care and detail she put into her work. At Lundberg High School, Lisa quickly became known as one of the most hardworking students in her class of 32 students. Her teachers often talked about how special she was, particularly Miss Anderson, who taught art. "In my 25 years of teaching, I've rarely seen a student like Lisa," Ms. Anderson would say. When other students would rush through their work just to finish, Lisa would stay after class, making sure every detail was perfect. Her artwork often decorated the school hallways, and she won first place in the regional school art competition 3 years in a row. While some people thought Lisa was too quiet, her close friends knew the real her. During lunch breaks, she would sit with her small group of friends, sharing jokes and talking about their dreams. Her best friend Sarah later remembered how Lisa could make everyone laugh with her funny stories about her cat Milo's adventures. She might have been quiet in large groups, but with her friends, Lisa's eyes would light up and she could talk for hours, especially about her big dreams for the future. As she grew older, Lisa became more and more sure about what she wanted to do with her life. Her bedroom walls were covered with pictures of famous buildings from around the world, the Sydney Opera House, the Turning Torso in Malmö, and many others. She spent countless hours watching videos about architecture on YouTube and had already filled up 12 sketchbooks with her designs. Her dream was to study at the University of Sydney in Australia, which was about 15,000 kilometers away from her small town. She had even started learning English from online tutorials to prepare for her future studies. Lisa's talent for design showed up early in her life. By age 13, she had already redesigned her entire bedroom using computer software she taught herself to use. She created a reading nook near the window, built a custom desk for her art supplies, and even convinced her parents to let her paint one wall with a beautiful sunset scene. Her diary, which she kept since she was 12, was full of not just regular teenage thoughts, but detailed plans for buildings she wanted to design. She wrote about creating homes for homeless people and designing schools that would make students happy to learn. In May 2015, Lisa's life took an exciting turn when she got her first real job. The Sunshine Cafe, a popular spot in Lundberg known for its delicious pastries and friendly atmosphere, was looking for help during the busy summer season. The owner, Mrs. Bergstrom, had known Lisa's family for years and had watched Lisa grow up. When she needed someone reliable for the afternoon shift, she immediately thought of Lisa. The cafe served about 200 customers each day and was especially busy during the tourist season. Lisa was thrilled about starting work at the cafe. Even though it meant waking up early and riding her bike for 45 minutes each way, she never complained. She learned how to make 5 different types of coffee drinks and memorized all the regular customers' favorite orders. The other staff members loved working with her because she was always willing to help and never forgot to refill the sugar bowls or clean the coffee machines. She kept a small notebook where she wrote down everything she learned each day, from the perfect temperature for steaming milk to the best way to arrange pastries in the display case. Lisa planned to use her earnings to buy new art supplies and save for her future studies in Australia. During her first week at the Sunshine Cafe, Lisa learned everything she needed to know about her new job. She practiced making perfect cups of coffee, memorized all 30 items on the menu, and learned how to work the old cash register that sometimes got stuck on the number 7. At first, she was so nervous about talking to customers that her hands would shake while carrying coffee cups. But Mrs. Bergstrom taught her a simple trick. "Just pretend you're talking to your grandmother," she said. This advice helped Lisa become more comfortable, and soon she was chatting easily with the regular customers who came in every day. On May 30th, 2015, Lisa's father, Eric, surprised her with a gift that made her jump with joy: a bright blue Vespa scooter. It was a reward for her excellent grades. She had earned straight A's in all subjects except physics, where she got a B+, and a practical solution for getting to work. The scooter was small but sturdy, with a top speed of 45 kilometers per hour and a comfortable leather seat. Lisa had already passed her scooter license test 3 months earlier with a perfect score, though she would have to wait until December to take her car driving test. Eric was determined to make sure his daughter would be safe on her new scooter. For 14 days straight, he followed behind her in his silver Volvo as she rode to and from work. They would leave at 11:30 a.m. for her afternoon shift, taking the scenic route through the countryside. Along the way, Eric taught Lisa everything he knew about road safety. They created a special system of hand signals. 1 tap on the helmet meant slow down, 2 taps meant watch out for cars, and 3 taps meant let's take a break. They practiced riding in different weather conditions, from bright sunshine to light rain. Sunday, June 7th, 2015, started as beautifully as any summer day could. The temperature was perfect at 22 degrees Celsius, with clear blue skies and just a gentle breeze from the west. Lisa woke up at 7 a.m. even though her shift didn't start until 1 p.m. She wanted plenty of time to get ready for her first solo ride to work. She ate a big breakfast: 2 slices of her mother's homemade bread with butter and jam, a bowl of yogurt with fresh strawberries, and a glass of orange juice. Her cat Milo sat next to her the whole time, probably hoping for a treat. Lisa spent extra time getting ready that morning. She tried on 3 different outfits before choosing her favorite blue jeans and a white cotton blouse with small flowers embroidered on the collar. She braided her long blonde hair into 2 neat plaits, the way her sister had taught her. Her mother, Lena, noticed how Lisa seemed to be almost dancing around the house as she got ready, humming her favorite ABBA songs. She packed her work uniform, a navy blue apron with the cafe's logo, into her backpack, along with a water bottle and the sandwich she had made the night before. Around 2:30 p.m., Lisa's parents decided to surprise her at work. They hadn't planned it, but the beautiful weather made them want to take a drive and maybe have some of the cafe's famous apple pie. When they arrived, the cafe was bustling with Sunday afternoon customers, families getting ice cream after church, cyclists stopping for coffee. As the evening went on, worry began to grow in the Holm household. The usual 45-minute journey home should have brought Lisa back by 7:15 p.m. at the latest, even if she rode slowly. By 7:30 p.m., her mother, Lena, had called Lisa's phone 12 times, but each call went straight to voicemail. "Hi, this is Lisa. Leave a message and I'll call you back," her cheerful voice repeated again and again. By 8 p.m., Lena had also called all of Lisa's friends, but nobody had heard from her. The sun was still up, typical for Swedish summer evenings, but dark clouds were beginning to gather in the sky. At 8:15 p.m., Eric couldn't wait any longer. He jumped into his car and drove along the route he and Lisa had practiced so many times. He drove slowly, just 30 kilometers per hour, his eyes scanning both sides of the country road. He looked in every ditch, behind every bush, checking for any sign of Lisa or her blue scooter. The route was quiet that evening, with only a few cars passing by. He stopped at every intersection, got out of his car, and called Lisa's name. A few farmers working in their fields joined the search when they heard what was happening. When Eric finally reached the Sunshine Cafe at 9:02 p.m., what he found made his blood run cold. Lisa's blue Vespa was still parked behind the cafe, exactly where she always left it. The keys were still in the ignition, swaying slightly in the evening breeze. Her white helmet was on the ground nearby, perfectly intact. Her backpack was still in the scooter's storage compartment, containing her phone charger, wallet, and the half-eaten sandwich from lunch. Mrs. Bergstrom, who had stayed late doing paperwork, came outside when she saw Eric's car. Together, they searched every room in the cafe, the storage area, and even the small garden behind the building where staff took their breaks. They found nothing unusual except for one detail. Lisa's phone was nowhere to be found, even though she never went anywhere without it. At 9:47 p.m. on that Sunday evening, Lena Holmes, shaking hands, dialed 112, Sweden's emergency number. The police operator listened carefully as Lena explained about Lisa, the unanswered calls, and the abandoned scooter. Within 15 minutes, 3 police cars with flashing blue lights arrived at the Sunshine Cafe. 2 more patrol cars came from neighboring towns, bringing the total number of officers to 10. By 10:30 p.m., more than 50 local volunteers had gathered at the cafe, ready to help search for Lisa. The cafe's parking lot, usually empty at this hour, was filled with police vehicles and concerned neighbors' cars. The search began immediately under the bright Nordic summer sky, where even at 10 p.m., there was still enough light to see. Officer Maria Lindstrom brought her German Shepherd police dog, Max, who had helped find 3 missing people in the past year. Another K9 unit arrived with Thor, a Belgian Malinois trained in tracking. The dogs led the search team to a large red barn about 200 meters across from the cafe. Both dogs became very excited near the barn's side door, barking and scratching at the ground. The police did a quick walkthrough of the barn, but only found some old farming equipment and hay bales. They moved on to search other areas, a decision that would later cause much debate and regret. The next morning, Monday, June 8th, brought the first real clue in Lisa's disappearance. Johan Anderson, a local farmer who rented storage space in the barn, arrived around 7:30 a.m. to get some tools. In the corner of the barn, partially hidden behind a stack of wooden pallets, he found a black motorcycle glove with pink stripes on the fingers. The glove was clean and looked new, obviously not belonging with the dusty farm equipment. When the police showed the glove to the Holmes, Lena burst into tears. "That's Lisa's glove," she said. "I was with her when she bought them at the motorcycle shop in Gothenburg. She loved them because the pink stripes matched her scooter's seat." By Monday afternoon, over 200 people had joined the search, including police officers from 3 different districts, volunteer search and rescue teams, and local residents. They spread out in a 5-kilometer radius around the cafe, checking every field, forest path, and abandoned building. The police set up a command center in the cafe's parking lot with maps spread out on folding tables and officers coordinating search teams via radio. Local businesses donated food and drinks for the searchers, and the town's church opened its doors for people to rest and pray. The local news station sent a reporter, and by evening, Lisa's story was the top headline on Swedish television. Tuesday morning brought more disturbing discoveries. Along a narrow dirt road about 2 kilometers from the cafe, searchers found pieces of a broken iPhone. The phone's screen was cracked and its pink case, which Lisa's friends confirmed was hers, was found 20 meters away. Further along the road, they found scattered papers, old cafe receipts, a bus ticket dated June 7th, and pages that looked like they had been torn from a diary. Most worrying was a small hair clip with blonde hairs still attached to it, which Lena identified as Lisa's favorite accessory. The police carefully marked each location where items were found, creating a trail that stretched for almost half a kilometer along the dirt road. The most chilling discovery came that afternoon when one of Lisa's coworkers was checking social media. Someone had posted a photo on Instagram at 6:29 p.m. on Sunday, just 3 minutes after Lisa's strange call to her father. The photo showed the back of a blue Vespa scooter in what looked like the cafe's parking lot, but in the background, there was a dark-colored van that nobody recognized. The photo was quickly deleted, but not before several people had taken screenshots. When police tried to trace the Instagram account, they found it had been created just days before and deleted shortly after posting the photo. This discovery transformed what some still hoped was a case of a teenager staying out late into something much more sinister. On Tuesday evening, the investigation took a strange turn when police discovered a YouTube video that seemed connected to Lisa's disappearance. The video, titled simply 13, showed nothing but a digital clock counting down from 13 days. It had been uploaded on May 25th, exactly 13 days before Lisa went missing. The channel's name had originally been Countdown Sweden, but was changed to Finding Lisa 2050. The news of Lisa's disappearance spread quickly across Sweden, touching people's hearts in a way no other missing person case had before. By Wednesday morning, cars and buses full of volunteers were arriving in Lundberg from cities as far away as Malmö, 500 kilometers away, and Stockholm, 350 kilometers away. The town's small population of 3,000 suddenly grew by thousands as people came to help. Local hotels were fully booked, and many residents opened their homes to volunteers who needed places to stay. The town's school gymnasium was turned into a temporary shelter where volunteers could sleep on mats and sleeping bags. The search effort grew into the largest civilian operation in Swedish history. More than 3,000 people joined in, including off-duty police officers, retired military personnel, and ordinary citizens who just wanted to help. Many took vacation days from work to participate. Some companies even gave their employees paid leave to join the search. People brought their own flashlights, hiking boots, and camping gear. Local businesses donated hundreds of walkie-talkies to help search teams stay in touch, and a local printing company worked through the night to make 5,000 maps of the search area. Missing People Sweden, an organization that helps find missing persons, took charge of organizing the huge group of volunteers. They divided the 50 square kilometer search area into 100 smaller sections, each half a kilometer square. Every morning at 7 a.m., volunteers would gather in the school parking lot where team leaders gave out assignments and safety instructions. Each search team had 6 people, a leader with a radio, a first aid trained person, and 4 searchers. They used special apps on their phones to mark exactly where they had looked and what they had found. By the end of each day, teams had walked more than 300 kilometers collectively. On Thursday morning, June 11th, an important witness came forward. Maria Eriksson, a 34-year-old nurse who often jogged in the area, told police about a frightening experience she'd had on Saturday, the day before Lisa disappeared. Around 6 p.m., while running on the dirt road near the barn, she met a man in his 40s driving a dark blue van. He spoke with a strange accent that sounded Eastern European and asked for directions to the highway. What scared Maria was how he kept insisting she get into his van to show him the way. He seemed friendly at first, she told police, but when I said no, his whole face changed, his smile disappeared, and his eyes got really cold. I ran away as fast as I could and took a different route home. The police returned to the barn on Wednesday with more advanced search equipment, including special lights that could detect tiny traces of evidence. This time, they found several important items hidden in different places. Lisa's silver hoop earrings were tucked behind a loose board. Her driver's license was stuffed into a crack in the concrete floor, and her house keys were hidden inside an old paint can. Each item was carefully photographed where it was found and collected in special evidence bags. The police also found something else that made their hearts sink: small drops of blood on the barn floor that someone had tried to clean up. They immediately sent samples to the police laboratory in Stockholm for testing, marking the case's turn from a missing person investigation into something much more serious. As police continued searching the barn, they found more and more evidence that something terrible had happened there. The forensics team, wearing white protective suits and masks, worked day and night taking samples and photographs. In a dark corner of the barn, they found something that made them call in more specialists, signs that someone had been held there against their will. Dr. Anna Nilsson, the lead forensic expert, explained that they found traces that suggested someone had been in the barn for several hours. The police also discovered that someone had recently tried to clean parts of the barn floor with bleach. On Friday morning, June 12th, the search took a new direction when volunteers began exploring the area around Martorp Farm, an old property that sat alone among wheat fields. The farm was about 2 kilometers, or a 25-minute walk, from the Sunshine Cafe. Around 10:30 a.m., just as the search team of 12 volunteers started working, a rusty blue Volvo drove up quickly. 2 men jumped out looking nervous and upset. They spoke Swedish with heavy accents and kept insisting that the police had already searched this area thoroughly the day before. "There's nothing here to find." Despite the men's attempts to make them leave, the search team kept working. Sarah Lindstrom, one of the volunteers, noticed how strangely the men were acting. "They wouldn't take their eyes off us," she later told police. "When we moved towards certain areas of the farm, they would get especially nervous and try to distract us with questions or stories." The team split into smaller groups to cover more ground, and it was behind an old chicken coop that they made their first discovery. Under a pile of freshly cut pine branches, they found Lisa's white motorcycle helmet, still in perfect condition, and her denim jacket with her name written on the tag. This discovery led the team to search a nearby trailer that farm workers used as a changing room. The trailer was about 12 meters long, painted green with rust showing through in places. Inside, the walls were lined with old metal lockers, most of them secured with padlocks. One locker near the back, number 47, was slightly open. When volunteers looked inside, they first saw what looked like old work clothes and boots. But as they carefully removed these items, following proper evidence collection procedures they'd learned in their search training, they made the heartbreaking discovery they had hoped never to make. The police investigation quickly focused on 2 brothers who had been working at various farms in the area for the past 8 months. Naragas Bilovichis, 35, and his younger brother Varis, 31, had come to Sweden from Lithuania looking for work. They lived in a small apartment above a garage near Martorp Farm and worked as handymen and farm laborers. Other workers described them as quiet and keeping to themselves. The brothers had access to many properties in the area, including the barn, where the first evidence was found. Police discovered they had been working there just days before Lisa disappeared, fixing a broken door. Naragas Bilovichis, the older brother, particularly interested the police. Security camera footage from a gas station showed his blue Volvo driving past the Sunshine Cafe several times in the days before Lisa disappeared. His cell phone records revealed he had made calls from near the barn at the time Lisa went missing. When questioned, he gave different stories about where he was that Sunday evening. First, he said he was homesick, then claimed he was shopping in a town 30 kilometers away. But when police checked, no stores had any record of his credit cards being used that day. His work boots, which police found in his apartment, matched footprints found both in the barn and near the chicken coop at Martorp Farm. The police found important evidence in an old barn across from the cafe. There was a small room with a window that gave a clear view of the parking lot. When the forensics team searched this room, they found many traces of DNA that matched Naragas Bilovichis. In the room next door, which had been used to store milk in the past, they discovered more disturbing evidence: a metal pipe with blood on it and some pieces of rope. The police were especially interested in the rope because it had both Lisa's and Naragas' DNA on it. Based on all the evidence, the police pieced together what they thought happened that night. They believed Naragas had been watching the cafe workers for a while. From his hiding spot in the barn, he waited until Lisa was by herself in the parking lot after her shift. The police learned that just one day before, he had tried to trick another woman who was jogging nearby by asking her for directions. They think he used the same trick with Lisa, knowing that she was always willing to help others. The police believe that when Lisa came close enough to help him, Nara just grabbed her and forced her into the barn. After killing her, he drove her body to Martop Farm, but he was clever about trying to hide what he'd done. Along the way, he threw Lisa's things out of his car window, hoping to confuse the police about where she had really been taken. When he got to the farm, he hid her body in a storage locker, thinking no one would look there. The lead detective pointed out that this wasn't a crime that happened on the spur of the moment. Nara just knew the area well and had clearly thought about his plan beforehand. He picked the perfect time to attack and tried to cover up what he'd done afterward. But, as often happens in criminal cases, it was his attempts to hide the evidence that eventually led the police to him. The case went to trial in fall 2015. At first, Neregis Bilovičius said he wasn't guilty and claimed he had been at his house when Lisa disappeared. His wife and his brother both said this was true at first. However, as the police showed more and more evidence, his younger brother couldn't keep lying. He finally told the police that Neregis had come home on the evening of June 7th with dirty clothes. Neregis had quickly washed everything he was wearing and begged his brother to lie to the police, telling him that the authorities wouldn't believe immigrants anyway. The trial ended on November 17, 2015, when the court found Neregis Bilovičius guilty of murdering Lisa Holm. Because of how brutal the crime was and because Lisa was only a teenager, the judge gave him a life sentence in prison. The court specifically mentioned how terrible it was that he had killed someone so young and how he had planned everything out so carefully. The case shocked the local. Every year when June 7th comes around, the people of Bloomberg gather at the cafe where Lisa used to work to remember her. They've put up a small memorial there to honor her memory. It helps people remember the young girl who had so many dreams but lost her life on that summer evening in 2015. Lisa's mother often talks about how her daughter wanted to be an architect and make the world more beautiful. Even though Lisa never got to follow her dreams, her story touched many people's lives and made them think differently about their own lives and communities. The whole terrible event taught people many important lessons. They learned to pay more attention to what's happening around them and to look out for each other more. Parents started thinking more carefully about their children's safety, and people became more willing to help others who were having troubles. The case showed everyone how important it is to work together as a community and to speak up when something doesn't seem right. It also reminded people that even though bad things happen, it's important to stay kind and caring toward others. Lisa's story became something that all of Sweden remembers and thinks about. It's not just about a terrible crime that happened, it's about how one event can change how a whole country thinks and acts. The case brought many positive changes. Communities became closer, people started looking out for each other more, and many towns made changes to make their streets safer. Even though the reason for these changes was very sad, Lisa's memory lives on through the good things that happened afterward. Her story reminds everyone that even in the saddest times, people can come together and support each other, and that's what makes communities strong. Lisa Holm's story reminds us that even the safest places can hide dark secrets, and that evil can appear in the most peaceful communities. What started as an ordinary summer day in a small Swedish town ended in tragedy, changing not just Lundberg, but all of Sweden forever. This case shows us how powerful a community can be when people come together. Over 3,000 volunteers searched for Lisa, proving that in the darkest times, human kindness shines brightest. But it also teaches us to stay alert and watch out for each other, even in places we think are completely safe. Lisa was a 17-year-old girl with dreams of becoming an architect who wanted to make the world more beautiful. While her dreams were cut short, her story touched countless lives and made communities across Sweden stronger and more watchful. If you found Lisa's story moving, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your likes and shares help more people learn these important lessons about community and safety. Remember to subscribe for more real stories that remind us how precious and unexpected life can be. Until next time, take care of each other. And remember, sometimes the smallest towns can hold the biggest stories.